Seems to be no end in sight in the battle for the AmaZulu throne, following the Pretoria High Court ruling, which set aside President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to recognize Zulu as the king. Prince Simakade Zulu says he feels vindicated by the ruling. Prince Simakade Zulu, alongside the late king's brother, Prince Zulu, brought the application to review and set aside the meeting which was held in 2021, and that's where the heir to the throne was appointed. Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa has since announced that he will challenge the ruling, and I'm joined now in studio by Prince Thokozani Zulu, who speaks on behalf of Prince Simakade Zulu. Good morning to you, sir, and thank you very much for your time. I know you're going to correct me immediately for referring to Prince Simakade as a prince, but allow me to put the question to you first.
Yes.
And that is that the president has said that he is going to challenge this particular ruling. However, he is appealing to the royal family as a whole to not inflame emotions. What do you think, or what do you understand that appeal to be? How do you proceed from here on?
Well, Oli, morning to you and your viewers at home. At least you've placed on record that, in fact, Simakade Zulu is the de facto king of the Zulu nation, because a king doesn't get appointed by the state or any other outsiders. In fact, we view that clarion call in a very dim light, in the sense that it's deceptive. It's sarcastic, given the fact that, President Ramaphosa is one of the most, if not the most, indecisive and vacillating presidents since the dawn of democracy. The day before yesterday, he said he will allow the royal family to deal with this matter conclusively. And the day thereafter, we read from newspapers that he has appealed. In fact, he's someone who is not reliable, because he speaks from both ends of his mouth. In fact, it's deceptive and sarcastic, in the sense that we view him as the new bane of the Zulu royal family, because he ought to have allowed the Zulu royal family to deal with matters as he had suggested.
Yeah.
Now, for us, he is in fact deepening, exacerbating the divisions, because we thought that the decision of the High Court would allow us an opportunity as the royal family to deal with this pertinent issue. So we view that as some kind of an electioneering, though he doesn't understand things there in the province, in their interrelatedness and interconnectedness, but we view him as squaring up against our de facto king, not only our de facto king, the Zulu royal family and the Zulu nation at large, in secular terms, but in spiritual terms, against our glorious past kings. Well, we haven't seen anyone who has done that and survived.
You're using very strong words.
Definitely.
In describing what you plainly are saying is a president who lacks a backbone. But I'm interested in what you are saying is him exacerbating divisions within the royal family. How so?
Because we thought that the decision of the court would allow the Zulu royal family to deal with its matters without their interference. Himself and Senzo Mkhunu, who went there and was with Indulameti, giving all sorts of assurances, even instructing us as the Zulu royal family to let the matter lie. So it's an interference, and it exacerbates the divisions, because we are now going to bed loggerheads, when we thought that maybe the decision would allow us to go through the Section 8, subsection 4 process as we had initiated from inception.
Before you move on, you are mentioning the Minister
Yes.
of Water and Sanitation,
Yes.
Senzo Mchunu,
Yes.
as having gone to the Royal House.
Yes.
Who did he visit exactly, and when was this, and what was the central message?
He visited Prince Zulu yesterday, even saying that, you know, since the president is appealing the decision, Prince Zulu will remain the king, and that all these court issues are disturbing, you know, something that already exists. Unfortunately, it's a deception in the sense that Prince Zulu is no longer a Zulu king until such time that they file leave to appeal. You can't appeal a decision through newspapers. You file paper through newspaper articles. You file papers in court.
The court is very clear, Prince Zulu, and that is that the decision to set aside the recognition aspect,
Yes.
it does not talk to, or it doesn't challenge the kingship. It has no force or effect on the kingship of King Misuzulu Kazwelithini. Now, it's simply the recognition aspect that was embarked upon in a flawed manner by the president and those who advise him. How you read it, though, right now, it comes across as though the Zulu kingdom does not have a king as things stand. Is that how you understand this?
That's how I understand it, in the sense that, you know, Prince Zulu is a king through the certificate of recognition and the notice that was published in the government gazette. But in order for us to understand what Xoli is saying in context, we have to have regard to paragraph 61 of the judgment, where Norman Davies clearly states that the Madondo judgment does not supersede or impose a particular decision upon the president. Neither does it impose a particular view or decision upon any other committee, including the investigative committee in terms of Section 8, subsection 4. It goes on to state that, because that was in the context of Prince Zulu's senior counsel, Pakrin, arguing that, but we have the Madondo judgment and it's final. Judge Davis says, it clearly states that he's not there to review and or set aside the decision. Yes, but however, he states that the process has to be subjected to the investigative committee, which has powers vested upon it in terms of the section. He goes on to state that depending on the evidence that will be placed before the committee, particularly that evidence that had not been placed before Madondo, the committee, the investigative committee is in a position, or could possibly come up with a decision that is different to that one of Judge Madondo, including, in terms of the identification, including referring the matter back to the Zulu royal family. Now, the issue of in fact, the judge goes on to state that the issue of the contestation of the meeting of the 14th becomes mute, because effectively, if the president, if the court refers the matter back to the investigative committee to investigate and come up with a report on its own accord, in practical terms, it states that Prince Zulu is no longer, otherwise they wouldn't be appealing the decision.
Let's speed things up two quick questions before we end our conversation.
Yes.
One, when we began here, you said a king is not identified by the state. It is
Yes.
identified by the family. Here's a crucial question.
Yes.
And this has been explained to us ad nauseum by
Yes.
those who are aware of the traditions and customs. And they've said a king will come from the mother whose lobola was paid for by the Zulu nation.
Yes.
And we're told that Queen Mantombi, the late mother of King Misuzulu, was the person whose lobola was paid for by the Zulu nation. And therefore, that, according to tradition and custom, makes him the heir to the throne.
We will agree, Xoli, that in fact it's two overriding factors. The first one being the fact that lobola was paid by the nation, and the second one being that the late Queen, may her soul rest in peace, is born of royalty.
Yes.
Those are two, in fact, intervening factors. However, you are bringing us to one of the issues that Justice Madondo never considered. And in fact, it was never placed before him, because our de facto king was not before that court. That custom of ukufagwa esiswini, amongst others, that our de facto king was affiliated into the house of Wakhangela Mankengane. And we do have a similar precedent whereby, we've said this repeatedly, whereby King Cetshwayo, as he was then a prince, was affiliated into the house of Queen Sanguza Kantsiyana of the Kwabe nation, who are a tribe that is only second to the Zulu.
So let me quickly sum this up, yeah. Prince, in order for the viewer to follow the conversation.
Yes.
Prince Simakade,
yes,
the challenger,
yes,
was adopted by Queen Mantombi as her child.
Not adopted, because you know, in our culture, we don't have such a phenomena,
right,
as adoption. You know, a child would stay with their family, who don't need any papers. But in this, with a particular family, relatives or otherwise. But in this particular instance, our de facto king was never adopted. Our de facto king was affiliated. It's called in Zulu,
to the house of Queen Mantombi.
Yes.
And therefore he effectively became one of her sons. And the fact that he is older than King Misuzulu, you are suggesting that with that, it makes him the heir to the throne. However, I have to end the conversation now. Do you think, as a royal family, that taking this matter to court was wrong in the first place? It should have been resolved internally by the family.
In fact, approaching the court was imposed upon us, because all avenues were shut. In fact, even we understood that we had to exhaust all the internal processes in terms of the legislation. The other party never came to the party. You know, they shunned the mediation panel processes where we were compelled, you know, or expected to engage under one roof. They ran away.
Prince Thokozani Zulu, let me thank you very much for affording us your time and coming here to explain exactly where matters stand. Unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. I know that you have more to say, but let's perhaps arrange another time.
I would really appreciate that.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.